Hi everyone, it's Allison. I'm in my violin studio. Today I want to do a practice tape for Gavotte by Martini. So this is a practice tape being more of a teaching tape for you to work out details. Alright, this is the first piece in volume 3 of the Suzuki Violin School. I just want to warn you, I have the older edition, the one that looks like this. Okay, if you have the newer edition, it's possible there might be a couple of differences in bowings. I'm not sure. I don't recall there being any difference with this one, but if you have a little bit of a difference, do what you have in your part. Or if I do something different than your teacher, do what your teacher says. Alright, so this Gavotte, it's not the world's most complicated piece, okay? What's important in this piece is bow distribution. Rhythm, I like to think of rhythm as a byproduct of movement. If you move in a regular way, that creates a regular rhythm. So if you're there trying to, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, you're busying up your mind. You probably need your mind to think about other things, like maybe bite into the string, get a good staccato, did I have a nice sound, is my note in tune, right? So if you can possibly not have your mind busy with counting rhythms, it's helpful. So I want to talk about in this piece a little bit how I like to teach people to think about the movement and make a habit of a regular movement, and then your rhythm will become regular without having to kind of count away and bash at it. So in this piece, we've got a theme. A gavotte is a kind of a dance. It's in two, and it's got kind of a main theme, and then it does something different. It goes back to your main theme, and it does something different, and then your main theme, and then something different. The gavottes can be tricky to memorize because, it's easy to get mixed up, as to which middle bit we're on. I like thinking of this as like a multi-layer, like a European torte, if you've ever seen a fancy pastry shop, or if you could imagine a layer cake, but instead of just having kind of 2 layers, you've got a whole bunch of layers. In this particular piece, we've got the theme comes back 6 times, which means we've got 5 different fillings. Okay, so we're going to look at the theme. And again, the thing I want to talk about most in this piece is your bow distribution. So we start with 2, and the other thing is I'm for the middle parts, I'm going to call them by bar numbers. If you have bar numbers in your piece, in your edition, great. I think the new editions have bar numbers. And if you've got an older number, just go through and add the numbers, right? But be careful. The very first 2 notes of the piece are not a whole bar. They're only half a bar, so don't count that one. The first full bar starts like this. Okay? So be careful. That's bar 1. So here's the theme. Music closer. So the first 2 up bow notes, we want a nice sharp staccato. It's a little bit gentle, it's only mezzo forte, but we want to divide your bow exactly in half. Now, I keep trying to arrange this camera so I can see the whole bow. If I push it back a wee bit. Okay. Alright, middle of the bow. Now, you don't have to use, I generally tell my students to avoid, unless they have really long arms, I usually avoid the top and bottom inch. In a lot of pieces, 2/3 of the bow, it gives us a very nice kind of a whole bow. It depends how loud the piece is and how fast you're playing, that kind of stuff. So, let's say this is the whole bow. That means if you're starting at the tip, where's the middle? Make sure that you stop on the middle and your second note starts exactly in the middle of the bow, and then you come up to your bottom. Okay. It's really easy. What happens a lot of the times is, especially when you haven't got a really masterful control of your arm will go kaboom, crazy on the first note. So you end up eating up 3/4 of your bow on the first note, and then you've got a wee tiny bit for the second note, and it sounds a bit odd. You get... Your rhythm, speaking of rhythm, your rhythm gets lopsided. If you have exactly the same amount of bow for both, each of those two notes, and your arm moves at exactly the same speed, the rhythm will be the same, right? It's one of these formulas, if you remember back in high school or junior high or whatever, and you used to get, you get in a car and you're going from city A to city B and you're driving at 70 kilometers an hour. How long will, and it's, 200 kilometers between towns, how long will it take you to get there? So, I mean, that's what bowing is all about, right? So the question is, are you doing 70 kilometers an hour? Or are you doing 120? Right? So, start your tip, half, bite back in, bite back in, down. Make sure you go over to the new string on the half. Okay, so there it is, middle of the bow. Down, and middle of the bow. Okay, go back over the A. Now, kind of take ish, a full bow. And here, there's actually 2 dots on these notes. I often have my students just play that legato. Do what your teacher says. Okay, that's a half note. 1 half. So you want your arm to be a little bit slow on that. Now, this is faster. Okay, so if you have bow distribution, it's really simple math. It's the same formula if you're driving in a car between 2 cities. Okay, so here's city A, here's city B. So if you go from city A to city B, and we only go at 50 kilometers an hour, or if we go at 100 kilometers an hour. So if we go at 100 kilometers an hour, right? If we only go at 50 kilometers, okay, so that's how we get our half note, is when you're only doing 50 kilometers an hour. Dum. But now when I have a quarter note, we'll be going the other direction. Dum. Not dum. Okay, so how do you make the car go a different speed? It's your arm. How fast is your arm going out? Da. Right? Here. Imagine the little Thomas the Tank Engine engineer, right? Da. He's going slowly. Now it goes fast. Boom. There's our difference. So, fast. And now these are just little bows, so stay in the bottom half. Whole bow, little, whole bow. And this is a slow bow. Okay, slow bow is when you only do 50 kilometers an hour, not 100. Slow bow. Now, when you have the little bows, this is, everybody does this. Do not let your bow go past the middle of the bow on a half. As in, this is an 8th note, so they're little bow strokes. If the middle of the bow is here, you can do little. Don't do little, okay? Keep it down here, little. And then whole, and then little, whole, little, whole, little. So in your little bow strokes, don't ever go over the middle. And then you see, then if you close your eyes and play this, wum, bada, wum, bada, wum, bada, wum, you can feel where you are. You don't need to look at your bow. You don't need to look at your fingers. You don't need to look at the music. You just close your eyes and you can feel wum, bada, wum, bada, dum. And then your body knows the piece. And your mind doesn't have to remember it. So, slow. Good. Now drop your arm to the A string. Bite very gently. So these things, it's not the up bow staccato is a little bit tricky. A lot of people, if you have a lot of tension in your hand, or if your arm is stiff, you'll end up doing kind of a shove, and it's not beautiful. The secret always is in relaxed joints and relaxed muscles, which is the most hard thing to do, of course. But try to shoulder relaxed, upper arm relaxed, forearm. You kind of imagine that your forearm, oops, I'm going to lose that. Forearm is, you've got a rope tied around your forearm and there's a crane that's lifting it, okay? So the rest of you is like, wah, Okay, but this is being, that's what you're looking for. And so if you think of it that way, it's not, you know, it's not your shoulder has to go up in order for your arm to go up. Just relax, relax. It's just, you know, somebody's hooked and they pulled your forearm up. Okay, so your hand is hanging and your elbow is hanging a little bit. Wah, but wah. Okay. Oh, sorry, I was talking about the up, up. So you want to lean in with your fingers bite, but you still basically have, this is pretty relaxed and that's pretty relaxed, right? So it's kind of a pluck, right? Because if you lift here, look how the fingers kind of come after, bloop, and then bloop. Okay, do you see what I mean? So it's not shove, shove. These guys, actually, you're not playing the violin with the fingers, really. Don't tell anybody I said so. You're playing with the arm. So the fingers will drag afterwards a little bit. Okay. Oh, what's going on? I didn't know where. Oh, we went again. Right. Okay. That's what your fingers are doing. They're kind of like a little out to lunch. And that's what we want them to do. So bite, but try and feel droopy. Okay. And then lift with this rope around your forearm. And then stop. And then your hand will kind of flop back. And then do it again. I'm exaggerating. Right? It sounds very different than if your hand is stressed and you go. Okay, let's get that hand relaxed. And let's do the bloop, bloop. Or if you're doing staccato. Have accents on them. Accent. And how do you do an accent? Well, bite a little bit, give it a little bit more speed just to the beginning of the note. Can you do that with your arm? Instead of going, you go, you know, a little bit like, you know, a cannonball out of a cannon. It kind of goes, poof, and then with air resistance, it slows down. So, poof, a little bit. Okay, filling A. So we have the theme 6 times. It is exactly the same 6 times, unless I've missed something, in which case I'm sure somebody will leave a message and tell me. But I went through 6 times. 5 fillings. Quickly, how much time have I used up? Filling A, which starts on 2 beats before bar 9, is this. And we're in, this appears to me to be kind of a D minor-y thing. No. More G minor. So we got B flat, low 1, and then high 2. Second time is the same thing. Now it's mezzo forte, so a little louder here, and there's an accent, a little more insistent. It's like really, really, really. And then up over to the E string, high C sharp, and B natural, high 2, regular 1, and over to E. And sforzando. Sforzando is kind of like an accent. Personally, I think an accent tends to have a little bit more of a bite on it, and a sforzando tends to be about sf, as opposed to pa, right? So I think of a sforzando as being more of a bow speed thing. An accent, you can use bow speed, but you probably have more of a bite at the beginning. Different people may have a different opinion on that, though, so do what your teacher says. Okay, that was it for section A. Now, filling B, I'll just call them fillings because you know what I mean. They're the bits between the themes. Filling B starts at 2 quarter notes before bar 25. That's a descending passage. You have 2 beats in every bow stroke, okay? make it absolutely mathematical. Okay, get a measuring tape out, measure the length of the bow stroke that you plan to use. I say plan. It's not an accident. You do what you plan to do. Measure that and know exactly where half is. And then you're going to, the second half, you're going to divide it into 2 quarters, right? So it's half, quarter, quarter, right? Or actually, it starts up here. So here's, and sorry, I meant to put a little sticker in the middle of my bow so you could see easily. So here's half of the bow. Now I need a quarter and the other quarter. Now, if I've calculated that correctly, I should be at the bottom of my bow stroke. Whether that's exactly, well, I generally tell students to use the top of the wrapping as a, you know, a definition of where your frog is. When you get a little further along, you can add an inch. So I'm going to count. So I've got to feel my arm going. It's at exactly 50 kilometers an hour. Okay, it's not 120. Oh, now only 20. Right? You can't change speeds, because if you change speeds, then you create accents or change the rhythm. So keep it steady. So did you hit that spot and that spot every time? Put a little tape, put a little sticker, you know, at either end, just a tiny one, okay? Just for a visual reference. And okay, I'm starting at the upper sticker, middle, lower sticker, middle, upper. You have a D sharp here, but you can play with a third finger, high 3 or low 4. Either is fine. But it will help if you swing around to the A string first before you place. And stretch out if you're doing a 3. Now here you've got a D sharp, so you're going to pull your first finger back to the low position. First finger, now pull back first finger. Good, and we go on. This is still filling. Slow bow. You've got 2 bows, 2 beats on the upbeat, 2 quarter notes on the upbeat. Okay, I want to point out, I forgot to mention earlier in the piece, this piece is in 2. It's in cut time. Cut time means that you've got two beats per bar. Actually, it's a funny thing. Usually cut time would mean 2 beats per bar. It would usually mean 2 quarter notes per bar. It's a funny thing. I don't know why they put cut time on this, because we still have 4 quarter notes. Anyway, maybe I'm just not thinking straight. But we do definitely have 2 beats per bar, but the beat is on the half note. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning of the piece for a minute to show you what I mean. So we have 2 quarter notes before the first full bar, right? Those 2 quarter notes are 1 beat. And we have 2 beats per bar, so it's like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. See what I mean? So if you were to count it 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. It has a little bit more of a pedantic feel. This is a dance, and that's why it is in 2. So you want to have, it's got a little bit more of a swing to it. 1, 2. Okay, so that's just an aside. So we did filling B, which was 2 quarter notes before bar 25. Really bow distribution and make clean string changes. That's your only issues there. The third filling, C, it comes halfway through bar 40. So this is, and then piano. Okay, in terms of bow distribution, same thing, right? You've got half, quarter, quarter. Now we've got 4 eighth notes in 1 bow stroke. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's your 4 eighth notes, which adds up to one beat in this particular piece. But now here we've got 1, 2, 3, I want you to be really, really dogmatic with that bow distribution. Use 3/4 of the bow, and then the last quarter is for that 8th note, okay? If you do it any other way, if you do, yeah, your phrase will sound really lopsided. So, do really precise bow distribution. Your rhythm and your phrasing will automatically kind of already be right. Piano. And this bow crossing here. You don't want to do a great big thing there because it's going to sound awful. Can you just kind of try to keep your elbow up so it's hovering between those two string levels? Okay, and then the second half of this is this. You might have thought that was the theme again, but no, he's tricking you. Accents and fortissimo. So that's kind of like the biggest thing in the whole piece. This piece kind of has, it goes up to the middle and then it goes on towards the end. After that, so I mean that's easy, right? Just keep it clean, make sure your string crossings are clean. Then halfway through bar 48 is the return of the theme, which you already know. Let's go to halfway through bar 56. Now this filling is a variation of filling B, right? So if you look back to bar 24, halfway through, we have this time, halfway through bar 56, we've got, so it's an F sharp, it's a higher choice. When you've memorized this and you're playing through, you're thinking, oh no, is it the high one or the low one? The high one comes later because we're reaching great heights as we get towards the end, or whatever. It will help you remember that. And the second half of this little line, I know you want to do this, but it isn't. F sharp. Good. And now we continue on. This is like, except it's on the A string, and the bowing is different, so you can get it mixed up. Okay, accent up. Make sure your bow distribution is good. Then we have another theme. Well, let's go to bar 72, halfway through it. And this is the next filling. Now this is in, what is it, A minor, I think. So you've got a low first finger, F natural. This is piano. You don't need a lot of bow here. But you do need to make sure that your arm goes up as you go to the lower string levels, because otherwise it's either going to get ugly or you're going to go up all of a sudden. It'll sound a different kind of uncomfortable. So just make sure that, you know, raise your arm as you go across. Long, short, short, long. Do open A, swing around, stretch out your third finger before. Don't put it on the string and then push it up, right? Because it'll be late and it'll be out of tune. Stretch it out as you swing around, and then use a fourth finger for the 74, bar 74, the first beat. Now back over to A string 4. So we can use that open string to make the transition back to the lower string. But now that we're on the D string, we don't want to go, because we have a general rule, we don't want to change strings for one note, because each strings has a little bit of a different sonority, and if you just go for one, it'll kind of go, you know, stick out. So use the 4 on the second one. That's piano. You don't need the entire bow. But now this is forte. Okay, so I mean that's pretty easy. Just get your F naturals, intonation, bow distribution, clean string crossings. That's what this whole piece is all about. And that's the end of the last filling. And then you get the theme one more time and we're done. Okay? So I hope that was helpful. Thanks. Bye.